After the rain of yesterday, the sun has come out and we are set fair for an epic Belgian Grand Prix. Third year in a row, Max was mighty in qualifying, but denied pole because of a grid penalty. And the second year in a row that Charles Leclerc inherited that pole position. Charles was the last driver to win from pole this season, back in Monaco, his last podium. Going for 4 wins in a row, Max Verstappen. Is there anyone out there that can stop him today? We're about to find out. It's the Belgian Grand Prix. And it's lights out and away we go. And I think Lewis Hamilton got a really good start, but Sergio Perez comes over to try and cut him off, and it might be a bit too late. Charles Leclerc goes into the source. Hamilton on the inside, battling away with Sergio Perez. And there's Lando Norris getting onto the gravel already. And Oscar Piastri in hot pursuit of Perez and Hamilton. He's made up a place already, and Lando Norris has lost about 3 places here. Charles Leclerc leads them through Radion and down the Kemmel Straight. Watch Hamilton from third, gets a great getaway.
Yeah, he really did, didn't he? And that stopped Perez for his sort of cunning plan, wasn't it? Tuck him behind the Ferrari. But Lewis Hamilton was there. And this is where you can see Lando Norris dipping his left rear tyre into the gravel, sort of by himself, really. And that is what surprised Perez, to find Lewis Hamilton there, who was yielding nothing as they squabble a little bit wide through La Source. And this is a surprise from what we saw on Friday.
I thought Charles Leclerc could be in trouble. Looks like he is in trouble. Looks like he's lost the lead. Lewis Hamilton leads the Belgian Grand Prix on lap 3. He's got past Sergio Perez. He's now got past Charles Leclerc.
Max Verstappen was so careful through the first corner. He was almost in danger of getting run into from behind. So again then, Hamilton and Perez sort of holding each other up a little bit as Piastri fancied a run past George Russell, took the place.
Lewis Hamilton has broken the DRS threat of Charles Leclerc. He is over a second ahead. Piastri still chasing down behind Sergio Perez. One McLaren chasing a Red Bull, and then there's a Red Bull chasing a McLaren, with Verstappen still very much in touch with Lando Norris. Down in 8th place at the moment, made up 3 places from the start, but is just having now to be patient and is now coming into the pits. So Red Bull have pulled the trigger and they are going to try and undercut Lando Norris. George Russell has also pitted for Mercedes as he tries to pull the undercut on Carlos Sainz. Watching now Max Verstappen, we saw him trying to get past Yuki Tsunoda, and Tsunoda not doing him any favours whatsoever, making Max have to work for this overtake. It's for track position after all. Down the inside goes Max Verstappen, he gets his man eventually.
If we are getting undercut, let's go now.
And Charles Leclerc, who is meant to be coming into the pits, doesn't necessarily think that's a great idea. Sergio Perez finding himself behind Lance Stroll and ahead of Oscar Piastri, and in a right old scrap that he probably doesn't want to be in after his pit stop.
And Leclerc pits. So yeah, you can't really. The driver hasn't got enough information to make that call. So Leclerc does pit. Sainz then, having not pitted yet, nor Norris, carry on.
Just watch Carlos Sainz for a moment. Whoa. Kicking up the gravel a little bit, going way too deep into the first part of Stavolo there. And that is our race leader, just struggling there for grip under braking. He doesn't want much more of that.
I think I still trying to get them, mate. What do you think?
Have a go.
Yeah, go and attack. Don't worry about managing your tyres. Bernie, back to you.
Yeah, and I was just going to come in a little bit then on Verstappen. I'll pick up off that radio. Verstappen's problem at this stage is that he has Perez just ahead of Russell. So Perez is towing Russell down the straight, as we can see, and giving Russell that DRS, and that is hampering Verstappen's overtaking opportunities.
And now, should Verstappen get past Russell, which won't be the work of a moment, knowing George, he's pretty feisty and rightly so. But he's got a lovely slipstream down the hill, has Verstappen. He'll have charged his battery up. Russell will know he's coming. But how's this going to look when they get into Les Combes?
As Carlos Sainz continues to lead this race, the gap now down to just over 4 seconds. And Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc both lapping about a second faster than Carlos Sainz, who is the only driver who hasn't pitted yet.
I think in plan B for medium, I think they cannot go to the end.
Let's wait a couple more laps.
and then see if we
Okay,
can go
copy.
to the end.
See if we can do a one-stopper. And here we go then. So once again, look at George Russell with DRS behind, and there's no doubt about it. Perez is helping keep Russell in front of Verstappen and almost pulling away a little bit.
Perez is, we're led to believe, Martin, performing for his Red Bull future. And he's performing in a way that he wants to show them just exactly what he can do in terms of getting his car as far up the grid on qualifying and as far up the field on race day as he possibly can.
You know, we've watched Max just scythe through this lot before, almost at will, as Sainz pits from the lead onto the medium compounds. Will he be able to get those to the end of the race? Bearing in mind, of course, the track's rubbering in a little bit. They're approaching now half tanks of fuel rather than full tanks of fuel. If he can babysit those, he'll be doing very well.
But we're told if you're about half a second quicker in terms of your lap pace, you've got a chance of overtaking the car in front. We'll see if Norris has got that pace on the Red Bull. Meanwhile, Perez under pressure from George Russell this time, and George Russell has now finally cleared his man. Now, he's been keeping within DRS range for some laps, and finally he had the opportunity to go for it, and he did. Russell's up to fourth now. To Red Bull tell Perez to let Verstappen past.
They have to, don't they? They have to. They cannot let if Max, and we saw Sergio there, giving him plenty of throttle, the back end of his car complaining a little bit. And I think Max will have a very good chance anyway.
So with Max Verstappen still behind George Russell, albeit 2 seconds, so he's dropped back a bit now, hasn't he, Verstappen, from Russell. And the other Mercedes, it's all smooth sailing for Lewis Hamilton at the moment, keeping the gap to Charles Leclerc at a couple of seconds. And as we just clock on to lap 25, it's 20 laps to go. Lewis is just being told by his engineer, around 20 laps to go, and that is precisely the distance that Sainz did on his hard tyres. So Lewis being told, this is all working out well for us, think it's working out well for you, and the second pit stop window is just about to open, Crofty.
Mercedes are boxing Lewis Hamilton. Not a surprise, that one. And they just hope at the moment, Lewis Hamilton fans, Mercedes fans, that they can just have a nice, easy pit stop and get back out ahead of Charles Leclerc. They're thinking about a one-stop on George Russell's side of the garage, definitely a two-stop for Lewis Hamilton. 200th career podium for Lewis Hamilton in Hungary, and has moved into the top 6 in the championship for the first time this season.
Good, Oscar. This looks good. Let's go.
Quick, 47.0 for Piastri, so he's been holding back.
Beware the quiet man. Oscar Piastri, who's just been released now into some lovely clean air, leading the Grand Prix, and has just banged in the fastest lap of the race. Oscar Piastri is coming in, which means George Russell will be the latest driver to lead this Belgian Grand Prix. It'll be a Mercedes 1-2, with Hamilton now running in second place, Charles Leclerc chasing him in third, then Max Verstappen. Now he's past Sergio Perez. Can Perez hold up Lando Norris? Oh, Piastri went very long indeed there. That slowed him down by about 2 seconds.
Yes, he lost a second and a half, 2 seconds, but great stopping work for that McLaren front jackman. He absolutely took the impact, and really the McLaren crew dealt very, very well with that, with Oscar's little mistake there.
George, just confirming you're happy to stay out. We've got 3 cars now.
Yes.
Copy.
Russell going to the end then on a set of tyres he's already been on for 21 laps. He does like these kind of Hail Mary, go long strategies.
Well, let's see if he still likes it at the end of the race. But he was absolutely crystal clear to his team, wasn't he? On these tyres and these 2 cars and the talent they both have, you'd think it's advantage Lando Norris here. And then Norris is not that far.
I think Lando pushing behind me, so let me know what you want me to do.
Yeah, we're happy for you to push now, Max, as well. Happy to push.
Yeah, and he's going to need to push as well. Max said it, Christian Horner said it, Red Bull haven't got the car here that they had 12 months ago. And out in front, George Russell leads this race just under 6 seconds from his teammate Lewis Hamilton. I'm not suggesting that's going to be a battle when Hamilton gets on Russell. Even if Mercedes didn't say move aside, Hamilton's tyres are that much fresher.
They are, but George is still in the low way. He's just done a personal best, but it's 7/10, 3/4 of a second slower than his teammate who's catching him, Lewis Hamilton.
that much quicker than him. Am I targeting to beat him or not?
It's close. It is close.
That's it.
And he's not talking about Charles Leclerc, is he?
No. He's talking about his teammate George Russell. He's going to have a great chance at the top of the hill, isn't he? So slipstreaming down the hill, he needs to be neat and tidy through there, pin the throttle. It'll move around a little bit in the turbulent there, but there's enough downforce. Now he's got a great chance. He's in the zone.
Winner last weekend in Hungary. He's trying to get onto the podium this time around. Oscar Piastri with that DRS advantage goes to the left of Charles Leclerc, goes wheel to wheel with Leclerc through the chicane. Neither driver giving this one up, and Piastri wins the battle. He is up into the podium places. He is flying out there. Russell could still win this race if there are no team orders at Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton can't find a way past his teammate. George Russell could still go on and win this race.
Yeah, I mean, George has took lap 26 on these tyres now, doing a fine job. He'll get the Fleet Operators Award of the Month, won't he, for keeping those tyres so well.
They look okay.
But Lewis has been relentlessly catching him at 7:10, so he will be with him.
5 laps to go, and the gap is down to just over a second. George Russell going long on a one-stop strategy, leading this race, but for how much longer?
Just make sure you give each other plenty of space.
So they're allowed to race.
Wow. We shall see. If they're allowed to race, absolutely fantastic. Well done, Mercedes. But you get the feeling George Russell hasn't quite got the grip to fend it off as much as he potentially would have liked. It's a super effort, this, from George Russell. It really is, converting from a 2-stop to a 1-stop to give him the best possible chance of a victory or definitely a podium. He's in the lead, but for how much longer? And he looks to be holding Lewis Hamilton off going into that bus stop chicane.
Piastri's catching them like crazy as well, and I think Hamilton is in the sweet spot there.
Hamilton, who waited so long for a victory, is about to challenge his teammate. No, just backs out of it and thinks, no, I'm not going to take any undue risks. He knows that a victory could well be his here, but it doesn't want to do anything too silly at this stage. It's another twist, another surprise here. It looks like George Russell and team orders might allow Lewis Hamilton to get past, given how long Russell has been on those tyres. But they've decided at Mercedes Piastri is too far back to challenge their 1-2, so they're letting them scrap it out.
But George Russell now knows exactly what he needs to do to stop Lewis Hamilton from taking him at the top of the hill in turn 5.
It's the Russell hustle against hammer time. And this is absolutely thrilling, as here we go again, foot flat to the floor for the 2 Mercedes, climbing up the hill.
Russell knew these tyres would go, didn't he? He'd leave it to me, leave them with me. And we're going to 1-stop, and he's still got great traction coming out into the final lap of the final chicane.
Final lap of the Belgian Grand Prix, 1.6 seconds covers
Lewis
the
locks.
top 3.
Lewis locked up a little bit.
And has that cost Lewis Hamilton his final chance to deny George Russell here today? Dropping then down the hill, through Eau Rouge we go, 190 miles an hour. Hamilton is a long way back from making this an easy overtake on George Russell. And in a few moments' time, he might be celebrating once again in Formula One. And for the 3rd time in Formula One, celebrating a victory. He inherited a victory in Austria, didn't he, when Verstappen and Norris tangled in the closing stages. He has absolutely fought his way to victory here today. This has been outstanding for George Russell and for Mercedes. It's a 1-2. Russell wins the Belgian Grand Prix. Hamilton comes home to finish in 2nd. Piastri completes the podium. What an end to this first part of the season for Mercedes.
Oh, boys and girls, what a performance!
That surely is George Russell's best victory so far in Formula One, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. What a way to send yourself into the summer for George Russell and for Mercedes. That's 3 wins in 4 races now for Mercedes.
Look at that sign above Parc Ferme, Kieran. Whether it is indeed George Russell with 3 race wins, or whether that will go down to 2, and it'll be Lewis Hamilton on 105 wins instead. The wheels have gone back onto George's car, and the FIA chaps in white shirts are now looking ever more glum. And still we don't see wherever any Mercedes people are.